All right, hey there, Sam with you here. It's what are we on? Friday. We're about the middle of the day here, and I had some members asking about Monero. Now we haven't done Monero in quite some time, and so I thought it was a good day to take a look at it. Now I've got Monero over here, just to, as I like to do. I'll come over here to CoinGecko. We know this is an incredibly strong project here. Market cap 4.5 billion. On their scoring here, it's 73 on their metric score. Look at the development score here, 89%. Very, very, very strong project. This is one of the bigs, one of the majors. We can see here, you know, it has a pretty interesting spread, right? It's not all Bitcoin, so we've got, it's the majority is Bitcoin, but you know, it's also spread across a lot of the exchanges here. Now, we can see the majority of it here at 18%. Is on BitHum. Bitfinex is for the dollar, and since I had the request for Monero to Bitcoin, I thought we'd look at it on Polo. We haven't looked at, we haven't used Polo that often, so the fact that it's number 3 here at 10.85, very close to hit BTC, but I thought we'd look at it on Polo. So knowing what, of course, we have a very strong project. When you bring up the chart, now here's the daily, right? So when you see something like this, you know, you kind of have to look at that and go, do I see an Elliott wave count there? I see a lot of chop. I don't know that, I mean, there's certainly nothing that jumps out at you when you first look at it. I mean, you know, you could kind of, you know, I've just wicked off the low here, the lowest low before we get into this mess. I mean, I suppose your eye wants to go, you know, maybe you had a 3, 4, 5, but then this is just all just a huge mess, and then we've just, you know, had this little zone here. A few things I do see that kind of get my eye right off the bat. So even if you just started doing just some fib pulls, right, looking for, you know, is there any evidence of algos? Well, it's messy in there for them as well, right? So here you get a little pop, but then they break down to the 786. You know, so we know it. As is often the case, as I've told you, when that breaks, then they're going to take the 50 on the next swing, coming back the other way. Well, here they take it, they don't get their target, it breaks again. So just a good exercise. So since we've broken here, then they're going to take the next 50, right? So then they would pull here, we break again. Right? They can't get there. It breaks again. So then then they're going to take the next 50 coming back down. So we look here. So algo's not making money in here either. Right? So that you can see there's right to the golden zone, comes down. They can't get the target. They switch again. Right? So you can see this has not been profitable for them. Just because they're in here, you know, just because, you know, the algorithms are written doesn't mean they're always going to make money. They're losing money in here because they're just switching back and forth trying to get on the right side of it. Now, it may be that finally now we have a couple of things happening. We have some structure developing here that we could make a case that we have a 5-wave structure underway off of this low, and that now eventually they've gotten themselves on the right side of the market. That's, you know, that's the nature of what they do and why they make so much money. Because eventually, despite the fact that they've been wrong repeatedly in here, they're going to get on the right side of it. So if we look here, so a couple other things that just jump out at me right off the bat. So we get kind of this zone down here, which seems to be, you know, support. We can make that case that we've got this support zone down here. And then, you know, even though we got through it, you can make the case that we had kind of this area here offering resistance. We've gotten through it, but then we continually fall back to the base. But if you look right in the middle here, so if I just go from the absolute low of it here, of what I'm proposing is this range, to the absolute high of it, look what we see right in the middle. I'll just use my cursor. Do you see it here? This right here? Look at the 50% of it. All right, from swing low to swing high. Look at how many hits on that resistance. Finally, we break it, come back, check it. Now it looks like perhaps now we're establishing a new range. But this, when you hit that many times, we've got a key level in here. Right, so just you know, sometimes you got to step back and look at it daily and say, well, you know, there isn't an Elliott count that I can work with here. So, you know, I'll spare us going through trying to get a count on that. You know, does it matter now? Probably not. So what I can see is that from this last trip down into this base of support and up here to challenge our ridge of resistance, this box of resistance, now we're starting to make some progress and potentially now sustain up here above this range, establishing potentially a new range. So let's take some of this off and then dig in here over on the right side of the market. That's what matters to us, and see if we can make any sense of what we see here. I know this. It might even just do this, just for fun. I know this is a critical level here. We can see how many times that's been tapped as potential resistance, now setting up potentially for support. Right, so we'll keep that there just until it gets in our way. So, but just something, you know, when you see something like that, it's worth wicking it off, because there's a high probability that comes back into play in the future. So looking over here now, let's go down to the 4 hour, because I can look here and say, well, I've got potentially a low here that's going to play for us. We might be shaping up into an Elliott count. So let's go to the 4 hour, have a look inside of it. So if we see here now, so potentially now, if I can get this right on that low, there we go. So this certainly could play as a one wave, but then we get this mess. So if I had to get a count on this just quickly, I would likely count it this way and have one here. This has to be the 2, because it takes out this low. So I would get an A, B, C. So here, let's go up here. Let's finish it. So I would get. This looks like we go 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be our 3, potentially our 4, going up for the 5. So we'd have some complexity in here. So you'd have to dig into this. I can see that it can play here. So we could have this as our ABC, bringing down into the 2. But within that, of course, you'd have another ABC. So you'd have A, B, C here. So let's change that color, change that degree, just so it makes sense. Okay, so that would appear that's, you know, just part and part. Now note where the 1 tops, where the B tops, right? That same level, as I told you, that's significant, and it's going to continue to be likely, you know, a point that we want to pay attention to. So it tops the 1, tops the B, so we get an expanded flat down into the 2. So what do we get here for our 2? So if I pull from the start of my 1 up here to this pivot here, well, again, it's sloppy. Right, we get just, you know, a little bit through the 6.5. That's where as I told you, right. So then algos flip, so you can see what happened to them here. So they went to the next one, got through again. So here they had the reaction. There's their target. They don't get it. Gets through again. So they flip again. So if I take that off, what did they do next? All right. So now they're working from this. Likely here, you know, did they hold? Yeah, that's questionable. A little sloppy with those little pivots through. They may have. So now we'd go up here and look at this. Now that gets kind of interesting. So note what we have here now. So I'm working from this potential 2. Looks like we go 1, 2, 3. So, you know, within this, so I'd count it this way. I'm sorry to jump around here, but I'm doing this on the fly. I don't rehearse these. That would look to me like what we're seeing there. So I've got a technical pivot. So as I showed you, eventually they get on the right side of it. That's what they do. That's why they make so much money. Eventually they get it, and then here's their target. And then, so even though they got chopped alive, just like you and I do many times as traders, you get chopped up. You can't seem to get on the right side of it. The reason that they're successful is because they don't get frustrated. They just consistently do the same thing over and over again. Eventually they get on the right side of it. Here's their trade, right? Boom. That's the one that makes the money. You know, are they in the black off of this? Maybe not just yet, but that's their trade. And you can see, how do you know? Not from this. You know from this, from the reaction at their first target. Right, so potentially that sets up as, if I put this into a lower degree, that sets up as our 3rd wave. All right, let's go down a degree. All right, so now let me clear the chart up a little bit. Okay, I'll clean it up. So here's our 3, 4. We can get this off. So it would appear that we're getting some structure now. We're getting an Elliott count that potentially plays here. So now we're still a little messy over here. What do we get over here? Well, we know we've got a technical pivot up here, potentially setting up as our 3rd. Well, let's dig in here a little bit. So, of course, this gets my eye right off the bat to help me confirm what I'm seeing. This, I promise you, does not happen randomly, right? So if we look there, from this 2 to this 3, you know, that's right. Look how tight that is, and make sure I'm right on it. Right. So we don't overlap the 1. We get just a hair through the 65, but then it rips to their target. You know, that's For whatever reason, they stayed with it. They didn't flip there. They got their target. So here it went first up to it. Reaction went back to tap it again. So this count it would be hard to argue with that count given this, right? The perfect tap of that level without overlapping it. Again, doesn't happen randomly. Okay, so we get that here. All right, so we're trying to get a handle on this now. This is starting to look more interesting. Again, to try and confirm, I want to get a pitchfork on this to see if that told me anything. Let's go to original, see if I've got anything there. That may be it right there at modified shift. If we go to original, we got so here was your corner pocket trade. Well, we got it twice actually. Look at this. So here's your corner pocket. So we got come here. So we got this twice, right? Remember, as I've told you, Andrew's median line trading principle number 1, from that corner, 80% odds of getting the median line, but then they get it twice. Now this here, now we're kind of moving away from this as we fall over here. So you might be looking to draw differently. So I might, just out of curiosity, might just pull this up, see if we've got anything here. It looks like it. So thus the weakness here, failure to get to the median line, trading principle number 4, implies weakness and a move equal to or greater than the swing that failed it. So that might be what's underway here. But we know we have this technical pivot here. So if I pull that off, we got that. I would check the alternates just out of curiosity. Well, that's kind of interesting. So look here how we've come right back to the median line here. Now this is the shift pitchfork, right? So we go up 50%, 1, 2, right here, median line acting as a bit of a magnet here. So we seem to have geometry here that's in play. So where's our target now? So we can look at this from our 2. So we would go from, so we would have 1, 2 in green here, 3. So now we'd be pulling from this 2 low to our 3 high. Right, so now look at this little confluence zone here. Right, this is not me scripting this out. This is me just going through it real time, exactly as I would do it. So that tells me that that's an important level here. It's a front run on the 50. We're just remember this little line here, right? So it seems like we've got a little pocket here. They didn't get there, but maybe the median line offered the support. So we could make a case that we have an A. Come here. Where are you? Let's get it here. There we go. Now it's hot. We get a little A, B, C down into that. Well, if that's going to play as an A, B, C, right, we don't know that's the low, but it certainly technically supports it. We'd have a 1, 2, potentially a 3, 4 going up for an ending diagonal. Here's the algo target off of the dominant 50 here. Does that play? It sure might. Sure might. So from an ugly start, looking at the daily, eventually we find some structure here that play. This is kind of interesting. That plays so 50, 618, 50. Now, do we have a diagonal here? Could that play as 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe as a 5? Or do we have A, B, C? There's a couple of scenarios here. That might be forcing. I don't love this structure here. What else could be happening here? Well, we got to look at this. So if I pull from my swing high, looking for a potential B. So if I work down to this low, right to the 786 to the tick. So you may have, if I pull this down a little bit. So let's clear this up. I know it gets a little messy in here. Let's pull that off. So potentially you could have this. So we might have A, B, and we're looking for a C down here again. Here's the wave 1 that would be the critical level. We'd want to see it hold above that, and note how that's that consistent level that we keep coming back to. As I told you, that's likely to be important as we evaluate going forward. That was a level that was important, and look here. Again, I'm just doing this real time on the fly. I did not script this out. So here's that level that when we looked at the daily, how many times that level was important. Here's the 1, here's the B. Look at the algo target for a potential C. Now, doesn't mean that we must come down here, but that's an interesting confluence zone that you'd want to pay attention to, because we may. So this does look more like an A and an A, B, C into a B in a larger degree. So if I go here and go to a larger degree, if we look at that certainly is a contender. as a roadmap here. I would almost prefer to see that rather than this kind of ugly as a 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll have to see. Can we break this pivot as a potential B? Because you can see you get an A, B, C into that, right into the 786, just as perfect as it can be. But we've got this bigger target up here. So if I'm looking for a trade, I love this. I love trying to buy it down here, knowing I've got this target here, knowing that that is critical resistance, offering now support. So, I mean, you could wait for the reaction down here, see what you get there. Do we get to the algo target? Do they front run it because of that prior resistance offering the support? What do I get there? 7 to 1. I mean, again, what's not to like there? Doesn't mean we must get down here, but it certainly sets up nicely. Now, I wouldn't wait. I would jump on the 50. I would look at the 50 anticipating that they'll do the same thing. So what else could we look at to try and find confluence here? I'd take the length of potentially the A wave and then bring that over. Look at that. Is that not, again, so here's the 100%. Right, literally on top of the negative 23.6, right behind this pivot. Right? So that's where technical analysis is, if you're a technical, geek like I am, you look at that and you go, what are the odds, right? That all lines up like that. Is that random? You tell me. I sure would want to know if we're heading down towards that's the kind of thing that I wait for. That kind of confluence zone. Now listen, we might just go up here now, but the fact that that's there, oh man, that's the kind of stuff technicians live for. Can you find that much confluence setting up there? We started with a daily chart with nothing on it, just wicked out some what appeared to be important levels. For a 7 to 1. Yeah, I want to know about it if it starts heading down that way. If this ends up going impulsive here, well, we reevaluate. Then what would we have? If we complete up here and we don't get this, right, as sexy as that is, if we just go up here and we complete, well, then all we're going to do is just draw from swing low to swing high and look for the next 50. This is all we do. So if we top up here, here's that algo target off of this 50. That would complete a 5-wave structure. So we'd play from a 1 next 50. That's all you do. But this, I like that. All right, guys, I'll wrap it there.